Good morning, middle school. As you all probably know, my name is Samantha, or as most people call me, Sammie. And today I will be talking to you about change. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, there are over 20 different definitions of change. Each one has a useful meaning, but only one has the exact wording I am here to talk to you about. And that definition is to pass from one phase to another. Your life will continue to go from one stage to another, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. Life would be boring without constant new events to keep you going and excited. If you can just imagine your world staying exactly the same every day of your life, nothing new or exciting ever happening, it would be utterly boring. I would feel as though there would be no point in living if there was nothing new to live for. You all probably know I was adopted, or if you didn't, well, now you do. I was adopted from China when I was 14 months old. Now, I don't remember anything about what it was like, but I do know what my parents had told me. I was born in Guangcheng, but my parents had picked me up in Nanchang. I was asleep at the time, but when I woke in my mother's arms, I started screaming. One minute, I was in a foster home with a foster mother. The next, I was waking up in some stranger's arms who, quite frankly, probably looked like the polar opposite of my foster mom. Nothing was familiar, and I am sure I was scared, hence the crying and screaming. It was a dramatic leap from being in one place when I fell asleep to a completely new setting with new people I had never seen before. And they spoke in a language I had never heard before either. I am sure it was very scary at the time, but what a difference it made in my life. This experience might have been the biggest change in my life for a long time, and perhaps the most important. When I was little, my parents told me we were going to move. I could not really grasp what they were really saying at the time. They tried to explain to my 6-year-old self that they wanted something new for a change. I did not truly understand, and what I really did not get was why we were just moving 10 minutes away. I mean, what was the point in going through all the trouble in packing and unpacking and trying to sell our old house and buy another one for just 10 minutes of difference? It seemed ludicrous. What difference could moving 10 minutes away really make? Well, I learned it could make a huge difference. By just moving a mere 4 miles away, the course of my life completely changed. To get me to move, the only demand I had was a cat. I told my parents I would not leave the house I was in now unless they got me a kitten. I do not think I even actually really wanted one, but thought I should get something out of this inconvenience. And what better than a living animal that I could snuggle with? So guess what happened? I got a cat, but not just one cat, 2. My mother could not leave the last kitten in the litter, so she took him home as a birthday present to my father. That brought about a very big surprise for my dad when we got back. I suppose you are wondering how this story ties into change, but you see, it does. Taking home 2 new animals changed my life in ways I didn't even imagine. I passed from one phase with no animal I needed to take care of to another with an adorable kitten who is now my responsibility. A new and unexpected twist in my life. And as I get back to the actual moving part of the story, I can say that I still did not want to move, but nonetheless, I did, despite my protests. So we packed up and moved into a loft apartment in Phoenixville. The change of houses was actually pretty drastic. Most people move from one house to another house of the same style of their old one. Nope. Our old house was on a hill with 2.5 acres of grass and wooded areas, and as I remembered, it was fairly large. Our new house was, as I said, an apartment with no yard, a lot smaller, and in a town. We can just say our old house was moderately remote. And now we live right next to people. It was strange and a drastic change in scenery. Each house was very different and gave off a different vibe. Moving gave me a new experience, one that I needed. Simply just moving 10 minutes away led me into a new phase yet again. This change affected me in ways I didn't think a house could. I feel as though it almost changed my personality. It didn't just happen in a few days, but over the course of those years, I started to become a different person. I know, how can change in a house change a person's personality? But it's actually surprising how much it can. The loft changed the way we lived our life. We were in a town for one, and walked through it very often to get to certain stores or restaurants if we needed something. If we wanted a snack, we could go to the ice cream store just a few blocks down. We also, I know this sounds stupid, but we had an elevator in our building. As a 6-year-old, I loved this and thought it was so cool, our own personal elevator. We also shared the building with another family. Their door to their loft was only a couple feet away from ours. It really was weird living right next to other people. Now, my last experience with moving that involves change was the school. My parents did not like Phoenixville School District very much and arranged for me to attend another school, a private one. I, like many other things, didn't understand what the difference was between public and private schools, but I would soon find out. On my first day at Montgomery, I was nervous. I had visited the past year in first grade and also came to the school over the summer for additional reasons like the opening of Gresh Center. So I knew what the campus looked like. I was also able to meet some of my classmates during my visit and found that they were all very nice. They all wanted to play with me at recess and sit with me during class time. So I don't know why I was so nervous. As I walked into the school, my mom, my nervousness turned to excitement. When we headed through my second grade classroom, I was greeted by my new teacher, Mrs. Clay, or Mrs. Schmier at the time, and many of my classmates. I had to leave my old friends behind at my old school, but now I was going to make new ones. It wasn't just my friends that were going to change, everything was. Montgomery was so different than what I was used to. During lunch, we have assigned seats and all eat the exact same food in what we all know is a family-style lunch. The campus was also so much different than my previous school, Charlestown Elementary. Every room at Charlestown was in the same building, but at Montgomery, we all know to get basically anywhere, you have to walk outside. Just looking at the campus, you can see how most of the buildings are separated from the main one, and every day we have to walk outside, rain or shine, to get to our classes. We all know what it is like because we have been on this campus for possibly years, but it was all so overwhelming for my little second grade self. It was a huge change. On my first day of classes, I was already on to a new phase of my life, one that I thought would last forever. But as I said, it would be boring if there was no change in life, and nothing can last forever. It is my last year here at Montgomery, the place that has been my second home for 7 years. It has been a home for all of us here today, and I am not the only one who will have to leave here in a short few months. We will all leave here, whether we like it or not, and head off to a new journey sometime in our life, whether it is in a few months, or a few years, or even a few decades. Mostly the teachers for that one. Hopefully none of us students would be here for another decade. My search for high schools was particularly difficult because I was not ready to move on. I was not ready for change. I am still not. I think leaving Montgomery for a new school will be a good change for me, but I still want to cling to the Montgomery that has been a great experience for me, and hopefully for all of you. And it will break my heart to have to leave here. It is just another step I will have to take to continue the road of life, but it is also an adventure. Every change in life will take you on a new path, one that you may love or hate. Change can be scary. You have known something or done something or even lived somewhere your entire life. You are comfortable with this and you like being in familiar territory. But then you have to go out into new and unexpected territory. Change can be like getting thrown in a pool of sharks without knowing what to do. It is scary and unknown, and you might feel helpless to do anything about it. Sharks. I mean, seriously, who in this audience would know what to do if they were thrown in a pool of sharks? That is what I mean when I refer to it to being like change. Sometimes you just don't know what to do about it, or how to fix it, or even make things go back to normal. But you can't always make things go back to the way they used to be. Sometimes you just have to go with the flow and swim with the sharks, instead of flailing around and yelling, "Help, get me out of here." Change is mysterious and hard to comprehend when something you have known forever will be different. I myself find change scary, but sometimes it is also exciting. Change can be an adventure you never dreamed of or thought of, and is something that you have to get used to because change is one thing that will never change. Even if you think something is forever, it is not, because change is inevitable. I will now leave you with a quote. All changes, even the most longed for, have their melancholy, for what we leave behind us is a part of ourselves. We must die to one life before we can enter another. Anatole France. Thank you and have a great day.